Hi there, it's Jen from ModernMedicineLady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and I am recording a second video. This is part 2 of the meaning of the tarot cards, since I had posted a video with my cards from my Healing Tarot deck, and people have been doing screen captures. So, hey Grace, good to see ya! I hope you had a really pleasant ride home, and that all is well in your world. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to figure out, okay. And hi, Melissa. Oh my goodness, it is awesome to see. And hi, Clarice, what a wonderful thing. Okay, I am seeing what's going on here. So, the first card that I wanted to talk about was something that is on my list that Jennifer Burnham Morris had gotten, the compassion card, which is the Man of Cups. Now, the Man of Cups is the water, well, he is the earth of water. Now, earth is the manifestation of things, the literal physical form that things take. And water is obviously, well, if you've been working with tarot for a while, you probably know that water is emotion. So the Man of Cups is about how do we express our feelings in the world, and how are our emotions coming out, and how are they manifesting. And the thing about the Man of Cups is that he's basically somebody where you can do your emotions consciously and deliberately, or you can find yourself in a situation where if they're buried underneath the surface, they're still going to be coming through, but they can come through in some really uncomfortable and difficult ways. So, for example, one of the vulnerabilities of the Man of Cups, and this doesn't have to be a male or a female, it's not necessarily, I generally think of the court cards more in terms of personality traits as opposed to gender. So one of the vulnerabilities of this character, of this card, is that they are susceptible to self-soothing and self-medicating, and alcoholism and addiction can be one of the problems or challenges that comes up for the Man of Cups, or for the person who is getting this card. Like I said, it doesn't have to be male. The other thing that can happen with the Man of Cups is that when you're thinking about it as the manifestation of our emotions, that it can be an indication that if there's something going on with your body, if there's some kind of challenge or physical health issue that's happening, that the real issue is emotionally based, as opposed to necessarily that you're just experiencing something entirely mechanical or physical, but that the roots of the physical health challenge are much more at the core about something that is really affecting you emotionally. And in our culture, I think, unfortunately, we seem to have this idea that if our health is being affected by emotions, that that's somehow less legitimate or valid than if we have a disease, or if we have like germs or something that's affecting us. But what I have certainly seen in the work I have done with thousands of people is that emotions, and especially intense, challenging experiences that really get our nervous system jacked up, have a tendency to lock into the cellular structure in our body, and we carry those stories in our bodies for a very, very long time. And if we do not address them, and if we do not clear them, it often manifests in the form of physical health challenges. So I would say that the Man of Cups is about looking at how are your emotions manifesting in your physical form. Now, the reason I chose the card to call the card Compassion is because the Man of Cups is the one who really gets to look at all of it. And in many ways, we really have a choice. Are we going to judge ourselves? Are we going to give ourselves a lot of challenge for being who we are and how we are? Or can we hold profound compassion for ourselves and for our experiences and for whatever it is that we're going through, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, whether it's grief, whether it's judging our own bodies or our own experience or ourselves in some way or another? the Man of Cups is the invitation to love and accept ourselves exactly as we are, and to start there, which is sort of the irony when it comes to healing, because so often the key to healing is acceptance. It's that when we resist what's going on in our bodies, when we have a challenge with what is happening in our bodies, a lot of times that's what's going to keep it really, really solid. And when we allow it to be okay that our bodies are going through what they're going through, or our emotions are going through what they're going through, often that is what it takes in order for something to move. And compassion, in my personal opinion, is the key to that. So that is the Man of Cups. So that was the first card. And if anybody wants to throw in a comment, if you haven't already pulled a card, or if I haven't spoken to you about the card, then please leave a comment and let me know what you're getting, and I will be happy to share information with you about your card as well. And hopefully it won't be a repeat of what I was talking about yesterday. But anyway, so the next card I'm going to talk about right now is the Justice card, because Robin Latarte, hey there Robin, not sure if you're on right now or not, but if you are, this is for you. So the Justice card is about finding deep balance and knowing how to recognize what your innate fundamental truth is. If you look at, there's the two pillars on either side of the Justice card. And if you get into tarot symbolism, the Justice card is almost like a higher octave of the Priestess card, in the sense that she sits between two pillars of mercy and severity. And the Justice card is sitting between these two pillars. But in this image, you can see the pillars are gray as opposed to black and white. And so it's kind of the idea of Justice has the ability to look at things and see that there's more than one picture or more than one meaning to the story. And so Justice is an invitation to recognize that the stories we tell ourselves about how something is may or may not be the only way that something is, and that when we can step outside of our perspective about something, when we can step onto the other side of the scale, we have an ability to heal and let go of the stuff that is sort of getting our goat. And I think when Justice comes up, a lot of times it's about that part of us that is desiring justice, that is feeling like somebody done us wrong, that we've been having a hard time, and that we're looking to prove that we were right and the other person was wrong, or that somehow the situation was just not okay. And while that is certainly a way to look at things, and there are definitely times where there are things that happen that are just plain wrong, where behavior is cruel and unfair and unnecessary and unacceptable. But a lot of times, even with these things, there are ways for us to come to understand what's gone down and to reframe our perspective about it, so that we do not have to hold on to this deep sense of resentment, frustration, and just that sense of indignation of like, I want somebody outside of myself to judge this and to say, yes, this was wrong. So I think that part of the Justice card is about that ability to be able to own your truth and say, that was wrong. It will always be wrong. This person may never give me an apology for this, and I just know that it's wrong, and I'm choosing to let it go because I don't need to be tortured by this for the rest of my life. I don't need this to be dragging me down and affecting me. I don't need the weight of this experience to make me miserable for the rest of my life. So in many ways, Justice is about not looking for external validation of what is right and wrong, but really owning what you know is your truth, and then accepting it for what it is, and ultimately letting go of the emotional charge that we carry around about something so that we can be free from it. So that is my interpretation of Justice tonight. Now the next card that somebody had pulled, a woman named Sherry, had pulled this card. She pulled or got the Seven of Swords. And then also my dear Britt Bulnick also pulled the Seven of Swords. And so the Seven of Swords is known as the theft card. And if you look at it, you can see that there are these two swords that are up against the fortress that are sort of guarding the fortress. And there's the thief that's kind of in the front who's wearing like a coyote mask there, who's kind of running off with the other swords. And so this, in my experience, is a message of you're distracted. You may not be paying attention to all of the things that are going on. And so while you are looking at this one thing, other stuff is leaking. Your system may be vulnerable to attack right now because you are so focused on one area that you don't even notice that there are other areas. So when this card comes up on a personal level, it's really important to be asking yourself, how am I depleted? In what ways am I vulnerable to letting myself lose energy, waste energy? Where am I giving away my power? In what ways am I draining myself? And in what ways am I stealing from myself? So the first person to always look at when it comes to any card is ourself and how we personally are engaging with our own lives and our own experience. And so the Seven of Swords is very much about that process of, what am I overlooking that is allowing me to be vulnerable? And how can I shore up my self-care? How can I shore up my resources? And also, am I leaking resources? Am I dissipating or depleting myself? Am I overdoing it? Am I using too much energy all the time? In what ways am I going to cause a crash for myself if I am pushing too hard, too fast, too long, etc.? So that is Seven of Swords for this evening. So there we are. Would somebody do me a favor and just write a comment so I can see if I can see comments? I'm always confused as to whether or not I'm doing it the right way. And if you have a card that you want to hear about, please let me know. Okay, so the next card that came up was the Three of Swords, and that was for Lynn. And Lynn I read for yesterday, and I told her what that card was about. So she does know what that was all about. And so, oh, yep. Okay, so now I figured out how to read the comments. I always do this. Is there a tarot for dummies? A good beginner book? Always so intrigued. How do you learn? You know, there are so many different books for tarot. It's really personal. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. It's really about what works for each individual person. I've actually been sort of getting the bug and thinking, maybe I will create a tarot course because I kind of love the tarot and it's been a while. If people are interested in a tarot course, please give me a thumbs up or give me hearts if you'd really love it. And I'll keep you guys posted. And if you're interested in staying in touch with me and learning about when I create a tarot course, then please, if you haven't already signed up for my mailing list, you can do that by going over to empathicwoman.com. That will take you to the empathic type quiz, but also there'll be a big pop-up that will drop down that will give you an opportunity to sign up for my mailing list. And then not only will you get to hear about when I do a tarot course, but also you will be automatically signed up for my empathic woman safety mini safety system course, which is a 4-part course that basically talks about some of the biggest problems that empaths experience and why some of the biggest mistakes that we make in trying to take care of ourselves in this world. So Clarice, I wish I could say, yeah, there's a great book. I mean, I really like the books that Mary Greer wrote a long time ago. I also really like a book called Choice-Centered Tarot. I don't even know if it's still published. I have not been reading current tarot books in a really long time. The other thing is that nowadays, more often than not, every single deck you get has a book along with it. So it's not like you necessarily need a separate book. find a deck you love and then start working with the book, and then come take my course and I'll teach you a lot about tarot. Okay, Grace, you got compassion. How perfect. And it just so happened that I just talked all about that. Awesome, and that's great. And Kelly, you got manifestation. So I had spoken a lot about manifestation yesterday. Manifestation, and the card is actually over in the corner because I'd already done it. Manifestation is the Ace of Pentacles. And the way I look at this is planting the seeds of the future of your life. This is all about how do we This is all about what is the next step in our life and laying the cornerstones of our future. So when the Ace of Pentacles comes up, in my personal opinion, it is an indication that it is the beginning of a really exciting time for you, and that it is the beginning of the next big, bold steps and big, bold leaps that are going to lead you to the next part of your life. Now, the one thing I will say about the Ace of Pentacles that's really important is it is crucial that we don't bite off more than we can chew. That the Ace of Pentacles is reminding us that it's baby steps. It's one little step at a time that is going to take us where we need to go, as opposed to trying to do the entire thing. The other thing about the Ace of Pentacles is that it's about focusing on the vision of what will be and how we will feel living in it, as opposed to trying to get all mental and figure out how we're going to make it happen. Because if there is anything that blocks the flow better than anything else, it's when we try to engage our brains in the how am I going to figure this shit out. And so the best thing we can do when we start getting that glimmer of possibility for what we're going to create is to really visualize what it's going to become, and also use the affirmation, this or something greater is manifesting in my life right now. Okay, so next one is the Judgment card. And I think that the way I would personally, oh, excellent, Kelly, I'm glad that you hear me. So the way I would describe the Judgment card right now is that this is the invitation to awaken to your immortal soul. This is the invitation to remember who you really are, why you are really here on this planet, and what you are here to do. And this card is a card that comes up when it's time to own your power, to own your light, and stop trying to hide it for whatever reason. I think especially as women, but it's true for men as well, but I think and especially for those of us who are highly sensitive and empathic, or oriented in sort of more of a magical way, a lot of us have had a tendency to want to kind of keep our light on the lowdown and not necessarily be out and about and just shining in our radiant glory. And the Judgment card is really a card that is saying, you know, this is what we got, and we are what we are. We can either reveal it and show it or not, but the bottom line is the equation is going to come out the same whether we're hiding or we're not hiding. But I really see this as the invitation to our awakening, to our power, to our truth, and to stepping forward into our mission to serve as a light worker on this planet. So this is, I think, a card that's really saying, honey, you got a job to do. It's an important job, and the universe is waiting to meet you for it. The universe is waiting to help you to get where you need to go. And welcome to the next step, the next level of your life and of your magnificence. So, Judgment. Okay, let's see what's next. Practicality, which I do believe is the Woman of Pentacles. Yes, it is. So what I have found with the Woman of Pentacles, now the Woman of Pentacles is the water, the emotions of earth. So where we spoke about the compassion card, the Man of Cups being he is the earth of water. The Woman of Pentacles is sort of the reverse. She is the emotions of the physical form. And what I have found is that one of the most powerful lessons that she teaches us is that it is better to think about what we want to achieve than how we're going to get there. I said that a little bit about that with the Ace of Pentacles. But the thing about her is that it's important to be looking at our end goal, not the how we're going to do it. And I have an example of that. One of my money mentors, who is just this amazing woman, her name is Denise Duffield Thomas, and she runs a boot camp for money mindset that is pretty amazing, and I've really loved being part of it for a number of years. But at one point, Denise was talking about how when we think about what we think we need to do to get somewhere, but we're not thinking about our goal, a lot of times we actually bypass the experience. And so specifically, there was this house that she had wanted, and she had been caught up in thinking about the money that it was going to take to get to the house. And it wasn't working, it wasn't working. And then when she started to think more about what she wanted, where she wanted to be living, and what kind of house she wanted to be living in, and not thinking about whether she was going to purchase it or rent it or any of that, all of a sudden her dream home, which had literally been on her dream board, I believe, if I'm telling the story correctly, showed up and was available for renting. And if she had been continuously thinking about how am I going to come up with the money to do this, then she would never have been able to move into her dream home because she would have been blocking the opportunity. So the Queen of Pentacles, or the Woman of Pentacles, is a reminder that sometimes we are going to manifest what it is that we need in a way that is different than we expect. That a lot of times we will be able to, and that wealth is really about having our needs met, not about a certain number in the bank. And that the harvest that we can get with our relationships, with our friendships, with the resources that are available to us, that is more important than whether or not we can buy a certain thing. Especially when as we start to look at coming into more of a culture of gifting, as opposed to and sort of gifting economics, and ways in which we are coming from a place of generosity as opposed to just coming from a place of I've got to have money in order to get what I want. So this is a card that really reminds us that there are many more ways to accomplish what we desire than it is just through this narrow route of having just X number of dollars to achieve what we want. Okay. Hey there, Shakti. It is so good to see you. It has been ages. I hope you are really well. So, next card is the Tower card. Out of all of now a lot of people get freaked out when they get the Death card in a tarot reading, and the thing is, the Death card is really not that bad a card. It's really about new beginnings, new possibilities, everything poised on the brink of opportunity, and things changing. The way that we knew life was before is no longer going to be working. But death is not about a physical death. It's not like, oh my God, there's going to be a disaster. Death is about opportunity, possibility, new beginnings, and profound transformation and change. So it may be that we don't recognize who we are anymore, especially based on who we once were. But the Death card is very much a positive card of transformation. Now, conversely, The Tower card is kind of shit's gonna go down card. This is the card that is about everything that you have been trying to do, all of the things that you have been trying to make work in your life. It ain't happening. And the Tower card is really about all of the false beliefs, the false ideas, the false systems that we have created, the stuff that we are trying to will into existence and force to function and be for ourselves. This is the card where it's just like the universe just says, you think you have control over this? I'm sorry, I am taking it out of your hands. And it is very much about just blowing everything up that does not serve us. Now, ultimately, this is a really, really healing, powerful, transformative card. And it is a card that can really make a huge difference in our life. But it is a buckle up buttercup, it's going to be a bumpy ride kind of card, because most of the time it's hard because we have formed rigid attachments to things that no longer serve us, that maybe never served us, that never worked, but our will and our desire for something to come through in a certain way, we became, we are gripping to something. And so the Tower has a way of coming along and just blowing all that shit right up and making everything that is not working in our life disappear so that we can start from ground zero again. So the Tower card comes up a lot of times when we are really at that dark night of the soul and the beginning of really just completely creating a brand new life for ourselves. So it can come up around times when relationships are falling apart, when maybe we have just quit a job or lost a job, when maybe people have died in our life that were really significant to us, or maybe we have a health crisis that has come up, or any other number of things where what we thought we knew is no longer working for us. So this is a card that I think is so incredibly important to be compassionate with ourselves and kind to ourselves and treat ourselves very gently. Like if there's any card that is a reminder to focus on how can I nourish myself, how can I nurture myself, how can I take care of myself while I am dealing with so much change in my life. And I would venture to say that right now America is kind of going through a Tower process, that everything that we thought was familiar, everything that we have known, all of the systems that we have set up and all of the ways that we've been working and sort of the outdated beliefs that are not working for us anymore, all this stuff is just coming up and is reaching a sort of a boiling point where a lot of stuff is on the verge of being transformed and shaken down in order for us to create something completely new and different. So, Tower card. Okay. So the next card that came up was the Man of Swords, the Knowledge card. And I see this as a card about how far intellect can carry us. Hey there, Olivia. So good to see you. So, the Man of Swords, the Knowledge card, is a lot about the air, or, air is intellect, reason, mind, and the men are all the physical manifestation of it. And so the Man of Swords is in many ways the paradigm we are living in currently. The idea that we can think our way out of a box, that if we have enough information, if we know enough stuff, if we can define it well enough, if we can quantify it, that somehow we're going to be able to get through whatever is going on. And the thing about this card is that there is power, obviously, great power in knowledge. There's great power in education and experience and in all of that. wisdom that comes from that, but it is also the shadow side of the Man of Swords, is that when we rely entirely on intellect, when we rely on that practical, clear, this is the way things are supposed to be, that we limit ourselves and we often miss the opportunities. We often miss the things that we need to see because we are looking through such an incredibly confined and rigid set of glasses. And so I see this card as a reminder of how our intellect can serve us and also how our intellect can limit us. And that when we are focusing entirely on this idea of being very scientific, very rigid, very just the facts, ma'am, that it will get us so far, but then there's a point at which we must step beyond our intellect and we must begin to listen to our intuition, we must listen to our gut, and we must take that leap to tune into something that is even greater than ourselves and allow sort of that divine flow to guide us. So hopefully that gives you an understanding and an answer about the Man of Swords. So, next card that is in my list of cards is the Two of Pentacles, who is the juggler. And the Two of Pentacles is all about how do you juggle all of the different aspects of your life and keep yourself from falling over. And so in its ideal form, it is about that balance that comes from delight, that balance that comes from when juggling is play, as opposed to the strain of trying to keep a whole bunch of stuff up in the air and manage it. And so when this card comes up, I think it's very important to ask yourself the question, is everything that I've got on my plate right now that important? What really matters to me, and what is it that I really want to be holding and carrying and juggling, and what is the stuff that I can cut myself loose from? What can I let go of? Because there's only so long you can stand on one foot and juggle without finding yourself tired. And I really think that part of it is about recognizing when you can put something down, when something is less important to you than it had been before, and then also about just how, again, can you make it a game? Can it be more fun? Can we not take things so seriously? So definitely this the Two of Pentacles is very much about not taking everything so seriously. So hang on for a second. And if anybody who is watching has any questions or is pulling any cards, please make a comment, let me know. I'm just going to look at my list. So while I'm doing that, please, any questions you've got? How are you guys doing this evening? Give me a thumbs up and let me know that you're happy and fine, or give me like sad faces that you're having a hard time. Okay, hold on. this decided to close down on me, so I had to open up the thread again. Okay. Good today. Good. I'm so sorry about the fireworks, Grace. Grace, I actually have a tapping video on my YouTube channel, as well as here on my Facebook page, for surrogate tapping for dogs when fireworks are going off, that I posted on 4th of July last year, and then I reposted it this year on 4th of July. Now, as you might imagine, Bob does not give a damn about fireworks. He's just like, whatevs. So he was kind of like the poster boy for chill out when I was doing the video, but he was a good sport and fell asleep while I was doing the tapping. But I have heard from other people who have high-strung dogs that the video was helpful for them with their dogs who were a lot less relaxed than Bob ever is. Bob right now, I don't know if you guys can hear him snoring next to me, but he's sleeping below me. Okay, so Heather Gunter got the sun, and the sun is all about that claiming of our inner radiance and recognizing ourselves as divine, as beloved children of the universe. That I think of the lilies of the field when I think of the sun card, and that idea of our worth is inherent, our value is fundamental, that we are loved and blessed, and all we need to do is show up and be ourselves and be real, like be our true selves, and allow ourselves to be supported by this earth. That literally the sun is what fuels and feeds everything on this planet. And it is not, we don't have to pay for the sun. Unlike I just some politicians who, there was some guy who had the idea, and I kid you not, this is not fake, who was saying that solar panels were bad because they stole the energy from the sun, and that we shouldn't have solar panels because they were draining the power from the sun. Anyway, thankfully, most people know that this is not the case, and that we can use the sun's power limitlessly, that it is a gift that we are given that is available to us. And so the sun is the reminder that we are worthy, that we deserve to be cared for, to be supported, to be loved, just simply by the fact that we are living beings on this planet, that we are here, and that we are delighted, that we are dear, we are beloved of this earth. So that is the sun card, and you can see this beautiful little girl. Her name is Gwen. She's now a mom herself. She's an adult, but and just her, you know, just that awareness of that divine connection to your heart. So that is the sun card. So Michaela, Security Man of Pentacles, I spoke about yesterday in part 1. And since I do not believe you are here, I am not going to go into that right now because I talked about him a lot. Hey there, Shannon. So good to see you. Welcome back. I'm just going through the list of the cards. And so now I am looking for the next one. And again, if anybody who is on this thread, who's watching, wants to throw out a card and ask me for the information and the meaning of that, I will gladly share it. And I'll also let you in on a little secret. The person who is pulling the card is going to be getting a little bit of, is like the way I'm interpreting the cards is is definitely influenced by the person who is asking about it. So I'm not necessarily going to say the exact same thing about any card anytime. Like, it's not like I have like answers that are memorized. So I will say things based on what the card wants me to say about it at a given time. So I'm going to talk about the Woman of Cups, which is the devotion card, and she is the water of water. She is the heart of our heart, and she is all about being tuned into the truth of the depths of our feelings and what is really, really going on within us, and knowing our feelings. Now, in the same way that I was talking about the vulnerability of the Man of Cups, is that if he is not aware of what he is feeling, if he is not owning his feelings, then he can manifest things like addiction and also physical health challenges. The Woman of Cups can end up having a lot of challenges around mental health issues, anxiety issues. Addiction is certainly a viable possibility as well. The tendency to self-soothe. I would say also sugar addiction and turning to things to numb the emotions, to push them down, especially if she's not consciously aware of what is making her tick and why she is feeling the way she's feeling. The other thing that can come up for her is that as somebody who's so deeply buried in her emotions, one of her challenges can be being able to express to other people what's actually going on. And because she feels so deeply herself, a lot of times she imagines that everybody else can read her and that everybody else knows what's happening for her. So a lot of times it can be very frustrating. This card can come up when communication is breaking down between what you imagine people know is happening for you and what you are actually communicating is happening for you. So one of the lessons for the Queen of Cups, or the Woman of Cups, is the ability to ask for what we need, to actually take the risk of expressing ourselves and not just waiting for somebody to read our mind or recognize what's happening or ask us, hey, are you angry? Are you sad? Are you this? Are you that? But instead to be able to articulate it, express it, and ask. And at the core of this card, when we are free-flowing and accepting our feelings, not resisting our feelings, not resisting especially the hard feelings, the sadness, the grief, the anger, the frustration, the things that a lot of times we'd rather eat a chocolate bar than feel. When we allow all of the emotions to freely flow, that's when we can move into the heart of devotion and really let our heart become the channel or the guide for that divine connection. So this is a card that invites us to take our emotions to a higher octave and allow our acceptance of our emotions and allow our expression of our emotions from a place not of drama, but from a place of mindful acceptance that allows us to really learn how to use our awareness of our heart as a way to stay connected to the divine. So that is the Woman of Cups. Okay, so Christy Child got the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is a card for me about, it certainly can be an indication of a significant, powerful, substantial love relationship that is showing up in your life. Like a major, like twin flame. This is going to change everything for you. Sometimes the Lover's card can be really challenging because it is a card that is about coming into your truer self and often coming into a love relationship that may be inconvenient, that may not necessarily follow the rules that you thought life was going to follow, and that it's an opportunity and an invitation when the Lover's card comes up to step up to the higher octave of how we live in the world. And sometimes that can mean that we must let go of the things that no longer serve us. Now, I see the Lover's card also as a card about the relationship between our instinct, which is the male in this card, and our intuition, which is the female in this card. And the way that when we are listening, when our instinct, the action part of us, is listening to our heart, to our intuition, then and our intuition is being guided by sort of the divine arc of life. So it's sort of like this card is about the fusion or the integration of physical, emotional, intuitive, and spiritual. And when in our culture right now, there are a lot of people where the equation or the funnel is going backwards, where everything is about the physical world. We are responding to the physical world, and everything is about reacting to it and wanting things for it. So our emotions are in response to the physical. And then if we are, and our prayers and our relationship to the divine is again in relation to the physical, and so the emotional is responding or going to the divine in request for the physical. When we are looking at the funnel in the opposite way, that this is what the Lover's card invites us to do, we are first and foremost, the divine source is in charge and is kind of the overarching truth of what is and what is possible. The intuition, the emotion, that feminine part of the card is listening carefully. And then the physical form, the masculine, the instinct, is then in devotion and devoted attentiveness, is following the heart and the instinct of the bride, the female in this, and is then acting from that. So it's this relationship of action in the world that is God, divine source, higher power, great spirit, like, I don't know, cosmic muffin, whatever you want to call that power greater than ourselves, is at the top of the process and is the lead, is the head of it. The heart, the divine feminine, the instinct is the guide and is the interpreter. And then the masculine, the instinct, the physical form is what is moving in the world and is taking action, but in relation to that highest octave of what is possible. So the Lover's card is really about how do we live in our life, and how do we live in our relationship from this direction, as opposed to when we're caught in living in a relationship or living in the opposite direction, where we are so focused on the physical or on the fear or on the romantic illusion that we're trying to force something that does not need to exist. But this is very much that invitation to live as an act of devotion, and live from that God first, heart second, action, physical form third. And if anything, when it comes to relationships, I would say that this is a card that is saying, how do you want to live in your relationship? Will you choose to accept it as a spiritual path and as a form of communion between you and your beloved? So that's what I have to say about Lover's card for today. Okay. So the Man of Wands is the card that came up next. And of course, I didn't bother pulling the cards out and putting them in order, which would have been a really good idea. So the Man of Wands is the leadership card. This is the earth of fire, the physical manifestation of our actions. And I really see this card as the invitation to relate to the world from a place of power with as opposed to power over. And how leadership can be about the process of sharing, the process of encouraging, the process of drawing out the best in people. And I always, whenever I've read this card, I always think about how we have a choice. You can be somebody who acts like the big foo-foo and sits up in the ivory tower, or, goes golfing on a regular basis, and who is telling everybody else what to do and is sort of sitting on their high horse and is basically leading from a place of, I am above you, I want what I want, and you're going to do it for me. And particularly when it comes to management systems, where you have work situations where people are put at a place of unease because they're being under scrutiny all the time, and there's the sense of oh my God, I need to please this person, versus the healthy form of leadership, which is the leading with, being somebody who is right in there with everybody else, who is part of the team, who cares about the people that they're working with, who is grateful for the people that they are working with, and who is maybe delegating responsibility, because that is one of the things that a leader must do, is delegate responsibility and say, I trust you to do these things, and I'm not going to micromanage you. I am not going to control you. I'm not going to take over everything. I am going to ask you for what I need, and I'm going to empower you to do what you can do. So the Man of Wands is very much about that ability to behold the power in everyone and to invite them to see their own power and to draw the power up and out of others. And so I think that when this card comes up, it's really a question of, how are you relating to people? Are you looking to people from this place of trusting that they too have power, that they also can share, that they have something of value to contribute? Or are you concerned? Are you controlling? Are you micromanaging? Or sometimes this card will also come up if you are dealing with a situation where you maybe have a boss who is in that position of power over, and where you are not feeling as if you are able to claim and own your power. So this card is very much about the ability to own your power, to stand up and say, this is what I do, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I am not capable of. Recognizing your limitations, recognizing what you need to delegate, recognizing where you need support, and recognizing where you shine. So that is what I have to say about the Man of Wands for right now. Now, Carrie Washburn pulled the Three of Wands. Now, the Three of Wands is one of those cards that I am extremely familiar with, because I was the person in the card. And the Three of Wands is all about putting your ideas out into the universe, sending your ships out, and asking and waiting for them to come back. And it is that pause between when we are waiting for something significant to come back in our life, when we have taken the actions and now we are in that place where hopefully we have turned over the result. Because if we haven't let it go, then we're going to be sucked into all kinds, we'll be weighed down and sucked into the water. Excellent. Hey, Nettie, or I'm assuming it's Nettie, or Netta, not sure. I hate mutilating people's names, so if I did not say your name correctly, please forgive me. And I will talk to you about the Devil card in a moment. So the Three of Wands card, though, is about that willingness to wait patiently and to do the things that need to be done before the next thing happens, and not to get so caught up in that idea of wanting something when we think we want it, that we're wading off into the water before it's time. So these ships are going to come back when they're going to come back, and no amount of going out into the harbor is going to bring them back any faster. So instead, this is an invitation to chop wood and carry water. This is an invitation to look at what are the things that need to be done that I can be focusing on now while I wait for this other significant thing to come through in my life. And how can I honor that? How can I serve that? What would be the best way to go about making the things that I can make happen? And what else, and what do I have no control over? What can I completely let go of? So this card, it's funny. I am in some ways exactly where, or not, well, I'm actually on the other side of the exactly where, but when I shot this card, I was waiting to be told that I was accepted into graduate school, and I was anticipating whether I was going to go to seminary or not. And that was back in '94. And now, as I look at this card, so much water has crossed between here and there, and so many things have happened. But it's funny because the card is that reminder of things take time, they happen when they will happen, and the best thing we can do is whatever is before us. The other thing that Spirit has a way of saying to me, and I've been pretty much getting this message now for about 30 or so years, is that whenever I have a question about what's coming next, if I've been given my assignment, what I am basically told, and they've been saying it for 30 years now, is do what is before you and the rest will be revealed. And they're sort of like, I mean, it's kinder than saying, shut up, bitch, we already told you what to do. But basically what they will do is they will show me the one next step. And if I have not done the one next step and I ask for more information, I basically get the answer, do what is before you and the rest will be revealed. Three of Wands, do what is before you and the rest will be revealed. Stop trying to push the river. Stop trying to make it happen faster than it will. Patience is a virtue. Okay. So the Devil card. Now, I spoke at length yesterday on the first video about the Devil card, and the Devil card is actually over in a pile away from where I am, so I'm not going to pull up the card to show you. But what I will say is that in my experience, the Devil card is about truth and about how can we honor what is real for us. And what I have found is that the thing about the Devil card is that the devil himself is actually the mutation of the earlier gods of the earth. The devil is sort of this fusion of the horned god, who was a pre-Christian god of the earth, the god of the hunt, the god of the wild things, the wild god of nature, and sort of like Pan. And also the green man, who is the god of nature, the god of all growing things and flowering things. And when Christianity came into Europe, they basically took these gods and they turned them into the devil. Because one of the ways that old religions would lose their power is when new religions come along, they demonize the old gods in order to basically get people to get with the program and come over to the new system. Now, the thing about this idea of the devil is, if you think about the devil as this god of nature, this god of instinct, this god of the wildness of what the earth is, and then you think about how that deity got sort of co-opted into this new system and kind of domesticated and turned into what we call the devil. the way I think about this card is that it's about the imprisonment that comes from the denial of our true nature, the imprisonment that comes when we lie about what is real about this earth, when we start forgetting that we are interconnected beings that are all part of this planet, and when we stop listening to our instinct, when we start saying things like global warming is bullshit, that then the devil will rear up and will basically act out, because the devil is the instinct of this planet to survive and is the part that is saying this is uncool, this is not okay. And even in the people who seem the most disconnected from the earth and from things that are natural, even those people have that instinct within them, and the devil will come up in really wacky ways and will act out, because it's like a small child. If you've ever been around a kid who's not getting the attention, hey there, Trish, welcome. If you've ever been around a kid who's not getting attention, a child will act out in order to get their needs met. And the thing about human beings is that we actually are more harmed by being ignored. Oh, hey there, boo. Welcome. My husband just jumped on. So anyway, if you think about, as human beings, when we are ignored, it's like we starve. And so we will act out to get negative attention in order to basically get some form of nourishment. And if you think about that with the devil, when we are acting out, when the devil card is rearing its head and bad behavior is happening, that is a lot about how we need to be nourished. And if we cannot get our needs met in a healthy way, in a loving way, in a functional, appropriate way, then what will happen is that we will get our needs met in a not so good way. So one of the things that I always say, and I really feel is true with the devil, is that we can set boundaries in healthy ways, or we can set boundaries in unhealthy ways. We can get our needs met in healthy ways, or we can get our needs met in unhealthy ways. But no matter what, we're going to try to get our needs met. And the devil is about when the system is off balance and is trying to bring it back to balance and rightness. So that was quite a talking about the devil card. Now, Neha got hope, and that's the Four of Cups. I talked about that yesterday, and I do not believe that you were here. So if you see this video and you want to go back to part 1, I talk at length about the, oh, you are so welcome. I will talk, I don't have the Four of Cups in here because I used it yesterday, but like I said, I talked about it at length. But I really see the Four of Cups as being the reminder to stop everything, go inward into the stillness, slow down, and go into your heart's desire. Listen for that spark of longing and let it guide you. So that's the quick version of that. Okay. Andrea Parker got the Man of Wands. Now, I did speak at fairly great length yesterday about the Man of Wands, and I don't think Andrea is on this call right now or on this video right now. So Andrea, you can find more information about Man of Wands in part 1. Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay, so the next card that I'm going to talk to you guys about is the Chariot. So the Chariot card is all about momentum, moving forward, but also not getting distracted by all the things that can pull us in many different directions. So when this card comes up, It is a card about it is time to take a big, bold leap. It is time to set things in motion and go towards what we want and manifest our dreams and our desires. But it's also, if you look, you can see there are these horses that are on either side of the face of the mask of the charioteer. And the horses are our impulses. The horses are our instincts. The horses are our baser desires and the ways that we can get pulled in many different directions. And so the power of the chariot is about how to learn how to harness our desires, how to entrain our passion in order to use it to propel us forward, as opposed to having us spinning our wheels because we're getting yanked in opposite directions by opposing forces, by opposing desires. So the chariot can be about when we are suddenly finding ourselves caught between the past and the future, where there is a part of us that is completely triggered by experiences that are going on in the past, as well as projecting all kinds of stuff into the future of what is going to come next. And often, because something that is going on in the present time is triggering memories from the past and is basically provoking or causing us to imagine what is going to be happening in the future. And that sense of being pulled by both the past and the future makes it almost impossible for us to move forward in the present. So part of the message of the chariot and the teaching of the chariot is for us to really know how to bring ourselves back into this moment. And even to the point of, if we're having memories, if we're finding ourselves projecting or thinking about the future, to bring ourselves back into the mindfulness of, oh, okay, so right now I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm thinking about the past. So right now I am having some feelings of anxiety. I'm feeling anxious and I'm worrying about the future. And I'm okay right here, right now. I'm going to breathe into this moment. I'm going to be here now. I don't know if you guys could just hear that, but as soon as I said that, Bob just did a big sigh because he's so used to certain things I say that I think he's, and he can often, when I breathe, Bob will breathe. So just really breathing right into the moment and claiming the here and now, owning what is true about what's going on right here and now, and then just taking one step in front of the other, taking the next step and the next step. As I was talking about with that Three of Wands, it's that idea of do what is before you and the rest will be revealed. And also that idea of do the next right thing. And then do the next right thing, and then do the next right thing, and just keep doing each next right thing. And that is the way that we move forward. So, Chariot card. Okay, I'm just going to look and see now. Catherine White, I already spoke about Daughter of Swords yesterday. And I did respond to you, so you got that. And then I also spoke at length about when you get the back of the card. And as I was saying, and I'll just reiterate, I really see this as the universe saying, it is not time for you to have this answer. And you have enough on your plate right now without having to worry about anything else. And we are not going to give you any more information than you already need. And so it's almost like we have these surprises in store for you. Stop asking about them. It's like 3 weeks before Christmas. And yeah, sure, you could go into your mom's closet, you could break into the presents, and you could find out what Santa Claus is giving you. Or you could just trust that there is something amazing that is on the verge of coming into your life. And the best thing you can do is stop trying to figure it out in advance, but just allow the wrapping paper to stay on until the present is ready to be opened. So that's the back of the card. So Margarita got the Woman of Wands, and I am going to talk about her. And I'm also, no, Trish, you did not miss the world card. Trish, I will talk about the world card right now since you are here. So, in the tarot, with the major arcana, the Fool is the beginning of the journey, and the World is that final step in the journey. And the World is the stepping off point before we start all over again. The World is that place where we have come to a point of completion with what it is that we are working to accomplish, to achieve. We are reaching a level of understanding and perspective, and we are able to step back and look at things in a whole new way. So the World card implies, just by its very nature, that you have done some work and that you have been on this path and addressing whatever it is that's been going on for a while in order to manifest it, in order to achieve it. It's also about that sense of profound trust that the universe has your back, that the universe is here to meet you, that there are so many gifts and so many things to offer, and that they are waiting, that it's about when we ask, when we put our desires into the world, and when we believe in the flow of the universe, and sort of that sense of really living by this or something better is manifesting in my life. So if something is not manifesting, if something is not happening as we hope, instead of looking at it as it's a disaster, what if we look at it as an opportunity to imagine that we are being prepared for something even greater. So I always think of this card, the world, as the world is our oyster. There are unlimited possibilities, and that we can perceive the world in one way or another. That we can choose whether we are living in El Mundo Bueno, the good world, or whether we fall over into El Mundo Malo, the bad world. And there's a book by Starhawk called The Fifth Sacred Thing, which is an amazing book, and it's a story about sort of post-apocalyptic America after kind of the shit has hit the fan. And people are in San Francisco who are all like crunchy people, like probably most of us who are watching this video right now, and they have created sustainable community-based culture where everybody takes care of everybody else and gets their needs met. And then down in Los Angeles is kind of like the old school, toxic chemicals, everybody has swimming pools, the women get boob jobs, everybody is miserable, and the only way to get your needs met is by taking stuff from other people. And the idea of this is that the people in the story are sort of poised between El Mundo Bueno, the good world, and El Mundo Malo, the bad world. And the thing is, in El Mundo Bueno, say you're walking down the street and you hit a pothole, you happen to notice it just before you hit it, you walk around it. Maybe worst case scenario, you kind of trip on it, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you're fine. Maybe a neighbor comes walking by, sees that you're about to fall, and picks you up and helps you. Whereas in El Mundo Malo, you come to that same pothole and basically you hit it in just the right way and you shatter your ankle. And the idea of El Mundo Bueno and El Mundo Malo is that there is a thin line in certain places between those two worlds, that they can be precariously balanced between the two places, and that in some places, especially when we are allowing ourselves to be caught up in the drama, when we're feeling especially vulnerable, that we can feel it's almost like a very thin layer of ice between the two worlds. But as we go further and further into our relationship to the divine, as we do more and more meditation, as we do more and more purification work, as we do more and more work on calming ourselves down and not engaging in the drama, that layer of ice or that skim of paint or milk milk that goes between the two worlds of El Mundo Bueno and El Mundo Malo, that skim gets thicker and thicker, and the world of El Mundo Bueno that we are living in is more and more protected from that other place. But there are times in life where we come up against it, where we have to choose. Are we going to be in El Mundo Bueno, or are we going to be in El Mundo Malo? And what are we going to do? Because it's that whole thing of, I'm sure you've heard that fable about which wolf do you feed? And it really is, what are you going to feed? Are you going to feed and cultivate El Mundo Bueno? Or are you going to cultivate your fear, your drama, your anxiety? So how can you really continuously reinforce this idea that this is a benevolent, beautiful, exquisite universe that really has your back and wants the very best for you? So that is the World card. And if I do say so myself, I think I was kind of channeling a whole bunch of stuff there. Okay, so Two of Swords for Pistina. And Two of Swords, I read yesterday, I talked at great length about it, but Two of Swords is about when you are facing choices, when you are trying to decide between two things, and usually you have a total stalemate and you can't. Thank you so much for the hearts. Thank you. And when you are trying to decide between things, and reason is not going to give you the answer, that that there's no logical answer. There's no this is the better decision out of the two. And the thing is that with the Two of Swords, what I find is that basically the key to the Two of Swords is you just have to choose. You just have to make a decision about what it is that you want and let it be, and then see how you feel. Because if the decision is the right decision for you, it will feel good. If the decision is the wrong decision for you, chances are it wasn't the right decision. Now, if you find yourself vacillating back and forth, and you go, I think I want this, you choose one and then you regret it, and then you choose the other and you regret it, then the key to the Two of Swords is that you need to start thinking that maybe there are other alternatives that you haven't even come up with. Because there's this very fascinating thing. I had this amazing communications professor who was my advisor when I was in seminary, who is named Jerry Hanspicker, who sadly is no longer on this planet, but I am sure he is out there doing his angel stuff, because he was truly a divine angel on this planet. Thank you so much, Nicole. And Jerry said something that really hit me hard, and it was one of those jewels of wisdom. And what he said was, whenever we look at two decisions, whenever we're facing down two choices, as opposed to looking at multiple possibilities, we get caught in a stalemate. We get stuck in that trying to figure it out. As soon as we ask ourselves, what would another possibility be? And we start looking for additional options. We start brainstorming for a third, fourth, fifth option. Generally, that will break up the logjam, and it will allow us to find the answer that we really need for ourselves. So if you do not know, if you're facing two choices and neither of them are jumping out at you as the answer, then it's likely that neither one is right for you. And what you need to do is brainstorm until you come up with something that feels way better. So that is the Two of Swords. Now, Nicole had requested the moon. I did speak at length about the moon yesterday. And what I will say about the moon is that the moon is about our deeply buried subconscious and the deep emotion. Oh, Olivia, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you found that helpful. So the moon is about the stuff that's buried underneath the surface, the stuff that we're trying to stuff down, and is going to often rise up and basically bite us in the ass if we do not acknowledge what is happening. Now, the thing about the moon is that a lot of times this stuff is old, or it is subconscious, or it is stuff that we've been taught are things that we don't really want to acknowledge. It also can be a card that comes up for women around our reproductive health and around our hormonal cycles and the way that our chemistry affects our mood. And I really want to say that one of the things that I have learned over and over again is that
our moods are dramatically affected by what we eat. And I mean, if you have been following me for any period of time, I will be a broken record about this. Sugar, especially, will cause amazing amounts of anxiety. Sugar can cause incredible depression. It can cause incredible physical inflammation in our body. But I have also found that for those of us who are highly sensitive and empathic, sugar deeply affects our mood. Other foods also do, but out of all of the foods, I find sugar is the thing that tends to be one of the most emotionally altering. And that can really affect our hormones, that can affect our body chemistry, it can affect our brain chemistry. So one of the things that I have found is that as I have done the work I've done personally to come to an even keel, because let me tell you, when I was in my 20s, I was a hot mess. I was always dealing with just stress. And I was a hormonal hot mess, I was an emotional hot mess, and I was eating sugar like it was going out of style. And over the years, I have learned a lot about how to care for myself, and I have really learned how to maintain an even keel. So that I would say that at this point in time, 75 to 85% of the time, I am actually fairly stable, I am content, I am grounded, I am balanced. And what I have noticed is that when I am feeling off balance, it is one of two things. I am either feeling off balance because there is something going on in the world and I am feeling it and picking it up as an empath, and it is bigger than I can filter out because it is such a large shock wave that it's rattling my cage. Or it is because I am hormonally off balance because of something usually that I have done to disrupt my system. And so the moon card is an invitation to look at how are we in balance? In what ways are we caring for ourselves? And really to look at the moon card as a chance to absolutely bring back that, or go to deep self-care, and looking at all of the ways that we may be helping ourselves, and then also the ways that we may be harming ourselves. Are we self-medicating? Are we self-soothing? Are we eating sugar? Are we drinking a lot of alcohol or more alcohol than we can tolerate? Are we using drugs in some way that is not serving our highest good? What are the things that we are doing that are affecting us so that we cannot see things clearly? Because if you think about it, the moon has four aspects, well, as many aspects, but the moon really has these four aspects of the dark moon that's below, that is hidden and that we don't necessarily, but it's still affecting us and making us tick. And then we've got that the waxing moon and the waning moon on either side that are offering us sort of that building and the decreasing. But then we've got that bright light of the full moon where we can know exactly what is going on. But we must be clear in our channel in order to be able to access the truth of the full moon. So that ended up being a much longer explanation of the moon than I was planning, but hey, it's always, like I said, every single time I talk about cards, I always have a slightly different answer. And this is one of the advantages of having been working with tarot cards. I got my very first deck in December of 1980, and when I was a fairly young whippersnapper, and I've been working with tarot ever since. I love the tarot. And by the way, if you are interested in seeing examples of all of these cards in their full glory, I do have an album on my Facebook page where you can look at all of the cards in, much more than just those tiny little pictures in the video. But also I have a Society 6 page where you can purchase prints if you're interested in getting any copies of these cards, because currently the deck is out of print. I had done a limited edition run, and right now it is out of print. But I will say, if any of you know of a publisher who wants to publish a new tarot deck or this tarot deck, I am open to working with somebody else, but I can tell you I will not be self-publishing again. So, in case you were wondering. But I will include a link for the Society 6 page, and also you can just noodle around on my Facebook page to find more examples of those cards. I will also say that if you are liking the way that I'm talking to you about reading and you are getting something out of this experience and you would like a much more personal experience and you would like to talk to me about getting a reading, please go to my website, modernmedicinelady.com. Go to the Work With Me page there, fill it out, let me know what's going on with you, and we can talk about doing a reading. Of course, I do charge money for it, but you know, that's how I make a living. So, welcome back. Oh, and thank you, Shannon, for that awesome comment. And Grace, welcome back. So glad to see you guys here. I gotta say, you know, I've been really hesitating doing the Facebook Live for a while, and I kept sort of going back and forth with it, but I kind of love it. It's really fun. Now, I will let you know that I'm going to be busy doing my other gig, tattooing, for the next 2 days. And so I will not be back until probably Monday because, I mean, hello, winter is coming, Game of Thrones. A girl has got to have her priorities after all. So I will be back Monday night to do part 3 because I will be starting to hit a wall sometime in the not terribly distant future in terms of cards. So I am going to talk about the Woman of Wands right now, unless somebody else wants to jump in and request a card in the comment line right now. So I'm going to give you a sec. So going once, going twice, giving you a chance to ask for a card. Okay. If you come along and you're like, oh, I want to ask a card, then just put it in there and I'll catch up with you once I'm done with Woman of Wands. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Woman of Wands. Again, as I say, the way my system works, she is the water, the emotions of fire action. So this is that fusion of how our heart is guiding our actions, how our heart is guiding our strategy. And what I really see her having is that her way of living in the world is through her ability to merge that heartfelt emotional warmth with her actions. So she is the expression of love through doing. If you are familiar with, and if you're not familiar with love languages, I highly recommend checking out love languages. There's a quiz. I'll find the link and post it in this later for people so they can see it. But there's a quiz that basically helps you to discover what your dominant love language is. How do you express love, but also how do you feel loved? And in my personal experience, those are two different things. So there's 5 basic love languages. There is the language of the act of service, there is quality time, there is words of affirmation, there's gestures of physical affection, and then there is gifting. There's physical stuff, like giving somebody swag. And different people experience love through different means. Now, I would say that the Woman of Wands is all about loving through acts of service and really expressing how she feels by really putting her money where her mouth is, or more accurately, you know, really taking action on what matters to her. And expressing her love, expressing her connections, expressing her appreciation through her acts of service, through her hospitality, through her just warm appreciation about other people. And so this is a card that is an invitation to inspire other people through our love. I also see this as a card of coming up when we have to, where the dark side or the shadow side would be the part of her that is competitive, the part of her that is maybe a little bit biting or challenging, and sort of is looking at the world as there isn't quite enough for me to go around in the world. And that, so the shadow side of this card is sort of the bitchy woman who is basically out for her own and is looking to get what she wants. And something I will reiterate that I said very early in tonight's broadcast was that when I'm talking about court cards, which these are, the man, the daughter, son, man, woman, or woman, man, are all, they're not, in my world, they're not about gender. They're about behaviors, they're about characteristics, they're about qualities in our personality. And this could be a female or a male, that gender is irrelevant. I'm just using the word she because I'm referring to the Woman of Wands, but it could be anybody. But it's very much about, do we look at the world from a place of appreciation and trusting that when we uplift another person, when we affirm another person, when we hold them and see them and even like shout them out, that we benefit, that we grow from that, versus that idea that that everybody is somehow a competitor for us. And an example of this would be the culture of entrepreneurs, and how there are some entrepreneurs who are all about shouting each other out, who are all about connecting and collaborating and working together, and who are more than willing to share and affirm and spread the word about their, quote, competitions, things that they're doing, without any sense of like, oh my God, if I tell somebody that so-and-so just wrote this book that's about the same thing I'm writing a book about, I'm going to lose something. Versus those attitudes of, I can't even go and talk to that person because they have a business that is similar to mine. And the Queen Woman of Wands is so much an invitation, so much an invitation for us to hold that sense of hospitality, hold that sense of generosity, and hold that sense of companionship, of camaraderie, of appreciation for each other, and that we all can have each other's backs, that we can all support each other in this work, and that there is enough for all of us, there is enough to go around, and that when we uplift each other, that the rising tide lifts all boats. And so as we feed that tide, as we contribute, that all boats rise with it and all benefit from it. So such an important card in terms of the shift of the paradigm from there isn't enough and I need to compete, to trusting in that luscious hospitality. And I will also just mention that this card reminds me of the invitation to do 21 or 30-day gift challenges. That one of the most powerful ways to break out of a mindset of there isn't enough to go around is to deliberately gift somebody, or even I've done it like 3 gifts a day for like 21 days. And I'm not talking like Gucci bags or, some kind of major significant thing. I'm talking about like a bouquet of flowers, or sending a card to somebody, or doing a little drawing and mailing it to somebody, or something that I have in my closet that I haven't been wearing that I know a friend would really love, and just putting it in the mail, or even recording a video and saying, this is a video to tell about this person who I think is so awesome and why I love them so much. But just making a deliberate choice to do a 21 or 30-day gifting challenge where every single day you just show up and you express your gratitude through generosity. And it is life-changing. I highly recommend it. Okay. Olivia, you have been patient, because you mentioned that you got the 3 of Pentacles like yesterday, I do believe. I'm just looking for the card. So This is another one of those cards that I personally have found to be incredibly important when it comes to how do I operate in the world. And I can tell you that with the work that I do as a tattooer, this card is like really, really key, because it is about the difference between working in collaboration versus being in a situation where somebody is telling you what they want. You are supposed to be able to read their mind and do it, and then they come back and they're like, no, 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 you've got it all wrong, and then you have to start all over again. So when I first started doing tattoos, I would often do drawings in advance for people, and I would basically have a drawing prepared. Somebody would come in, look at the drawing, and like at least half of the time that I would do that, they would look at the drawing and say, I like that, but could you please change this, 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 and this? And by the time I had to redraw it, by the time I had to go back in and change this, this, and this, I was essentially redrawing the entire thing. And what I realized was that it was not serving either me or my client for me to try to do something that was about both of us on my own. That I was better served by being in a dialogue and a collaboration with that person, and being able to be in a negotiation with them about what it was that they wanted, and to have this back and forth dialogue right on the spot, so that we were talking as we were going along, and I was getting like moment to moment feedback, that I was getting that sense of, am I hitting the right mark? Am I doing the right thing? Is this making sense to you? Is this what is going on? Now, interestingly, this is also the way that I approach healing work, and I also approach reading. Because what I believe is that it is not my job to prove to you that I know stuff. It is my job to help you to get access to the information that you need the best way you possibly can. And so if that means that I'm going to share information and then I'm going to say to you, is this making sense to you? Is this ringing true for you? What does this mean to you? We are going to have a much more effective experience than if I just wear like the big like fortune teller hat on my head and try to like wow you with my ability to be psychic. And so I really feel, oh, you are so very welcome, Trish, and I am so glad that it was helpful. So in my experience, the thing with the Three of Pentacles is that it's all about how are we going about accomplishing things. Are we doing it efficiently? Are we doing it effectively? Are we doing it in a way that is a collaboration and is a conversation and a dialogue? Or are we doing it in a way where we are wasting our time, and where we are trying, where our ego is essentially involved, where it's like we're trying to figure stuff out, that it would be way, way, way more effective if we just stepped away from trying to do it all and allowed it to be a negotiation, a dialogue, a conversation, where we're all looking at it together and we're creating something greater. And so that's the other thing about this card, is that idea of the value of the whole, and the value of sort of this, the sum of all the parts is greater than when we look at the individual parts. So that there's something about that exponential value when all of the participants are contributing and putting stuff together. So Olivia, please give me some hearts, some thumbs up. Let me know if this is making sense to you, and or please leave a comment and let me know if it's not making sense to you. Let me know what's going on with that. Assuming you are still on the call or broadcast. Yay. Because I know when you got it, you were like, huh? Why did I get that? So I'm curious, does it do, now that I've spoken about it, is it making more sense? Is it clear why you got this card? Okay. So I think, I'm just actually curious, how many cards have I done? Let's see. I've read or talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 cards tonight, and of course, perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for that feedback, Olivia. That is awesome. So if you are seeing this video not with the feed, Olivia is basically saying that she's in a process of working towards something that needs collaboration with people to help it happen. So yeah, I mean, I think that this is very much about when you're working to go make it happen, like, also imagine these people are your allies. Imagine they want the best for you. And I had an experience recently where I needed information, and I could have gone in defensively, or I could have gone in from a place of power. And fortunately, for whatever reason, I had no emotional charge going into this situation and asking a question. It was talking to somebody in a bank. And I was really struck by how empowering it was to just assume this person had information for me and could give me the information I needed and was my ally, as opposed to going in telling myself all kinds of stories about what they would or would not assume about me, whether or not I was going to be a pain in their butt, etc., etc., etc. And so I really invite you to think about how, if in any way, are you telling yourself stories about the other people's participation, or what you are imagining they are thinking about you as you're going into this conversation with them and into this collaboration. Okay, so the 7 of Pentacles card is the Vision card, and this card, Iris Waters got this card, and she had posted it on that original thread. So the 7 of Pentacles, in my opinion, is all about the long-range vision. It's about the idea that sometimes something is going to take time to manifest, and that if we are looking for instant gratification, it ain't going to happen. And if we are trying to force the river, we're going to, or rip open the bud, we just destroy the rose. And so in this image, you can see the woman is leaning over her hoe, and she is looking down at 7 pentacles that are on the ground, but the ground is snow. And these pentacles were actually literally made of seed, and they were down in the ground, and they were created out of seeds. And so the idea of it is that these seeds will germinate. These seeds will come to fruition. They will become something. But it is not time yet. Right now is the time to go into the possibility and to allow ourselves to cultivate the vision. We live in a culture that does not have room for gestation a lot of the time. We live in a culture that sort of is on or off. And ironically and interestingly, I just figured something out. I shot this card probably in like 1993, and I just had a revelation about it, which was that I used soba noodles, pasta, to create the form of my pentacles, because just using seeds wasn't enough. And I'd never really thought about this. I just was like, I had done it because it was what was I could put in the ground and I could make the pentacles out of. I just got it. So sometimes, especially ironically, this card is all about long-term vision. The thing is, pasta is one of those things that you can't rush. You have to put it in the water. It has to boil. It has to soften, or it is useless. And we can't force the outcome. We cannot make it happen or boil any faster than it will. And I've been using this analogy lately about specifically about you can't force pasta to be right any faster than it will be right. And interestingly, I was telling myself that even then when I shot this particular card, that we cannot force things to happen faster than they will. But the thing about winter is that winter is the time of going inward. And winter is the time when we allow ourselves to go into the void, when we allow ourselves to go into that glistening darkness, and we go into the place where the seeds are being planted, and we let ourselves hibernate, we let ourselves rest, we let ourselves wait. That is when we get the full fertile vision of what is possible. And then by allowing that to happen, we get our marching orders, we get our instructions, we understand what it is that we're looking for. So as opportunities come up in the future, we recognize them. So often in this culture, we have this, we all want to be successes immediately, and we all want to be married yesterday, and we all want to be in love, like, well, not everybody. Some people have gone and done their work and are beyond that. But most of us, at least at some point in our life, are impatient for our life to to happen in the way we think it's supposed to happen. And I can't tell you the number of people who I meet who are in their late teens and early 20s who want it to be already there. And what they want is to be living the life that they will eventually be living when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And the thing is that when we allow ourselves to go into the time of winter, into that fertile hibernation, into that fertile gestation, into that fertile possibility, then we have the opportunity to see what can be. And when we can see what can be, we can be guided on the journey much more easily than when we are simply being pulled around by our gut instincts, by our longings, by our baser desires, and by the part of us that just is blind with want. So this card is a card that is a card of promise, of things that are going to be coming, but also is a card that is saying, cool your jets, baby. The pasta is not ready now. Go do other things. Have some fun. Go watch a movie. Go play with your friends. Go hibernate for a while and go vision the great visions of what it is you want to create. Okay. So, last call for anybody who is still on this broadcast to ask for a card, because I am thinking it's going to make sense for me to come back and have another conversation with you guys on Monday evening and talk about more cards. Like I said, I'm going to be tattooing tomorrow and Saturday, and then Sunday is Game of Thrones. Hello. And so I'm going to just take a little bit of a break from this, but I will be back to talk through the rest of the deck so that people will have all of the cards and information about them. And if you are interested in being on my mailing list for a tarot course, it would be an online tarot course, virtual, but there would be group participation, so that it would be a combination of live calls and videos and information. Please go over to empathicwoman.com and sign up for my mailing list. You will automatically also be signed up to receive my mini empathic safety system course that talks about one of the biggest mistakes most of us make as empaths trying to protect ourselves, why this happens, what's making us tick, all of that interesting stuff. And also, if you are interested in getting more than just a generalized conversation about cards from me, but you would really like to do something with a real reading from me, please go to my website, modernmedicinelady.com, go to the Work With Me page, and then just sign up, tell me what's going on with you. This is not parlor tricks. This is not about me being able to wow you with my psychic abilities. This is about me being able to give you as much support as as I can by having a really honest conversation with you about you and your life and what's going on. So please, if you're interested in going further with this work and getting a reading from me, go to modernmedicinelady.com, go to my Work With Me section, and in the comments below with anything else Jen needs to know, let me know that you're interested in learning about getting a reading. So, at this point in time, I don't see anybody else asking for a card, and I think I have pretty much spoken a lot. I have been at it for a while, so I am going to call it a night. It has been a delight to spend time with all of you guys. Thank you all so much for showing up. Please, please, please like this video, share this video, please pass it along to all of your friends who would be interested in this to let them know what's going on, and also share the Healing Tarot flipogram that's got all of the cards so that they can pick their own cards and they can participate in this. I'm going to be continuing to do this, and I just am so grateful for all of you being here. Grace, it is just such a pleasure to see you, to spend time with you. You are the bomb. And I will catch up with you guys on Monday after whatever happens with Jon Snow and Game of Thrones. So Shannon, so glad you were able to join us, and just really, Olivia, Grace, Shannon, thank you all for being here with me. Melissa, you're gone now. I'm sure you had to put Benny to bed. And just all of the rest of you who've been here tonight, such a pleasure. And I can't wait to catch up with you guys again very soon. So I'm wishing you so much peace and ease and grace in your life. And I am just sending you all kinds of love. So like that. So that's my heart's back at all of you guys. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to sign off for now. If you have any questions, most of you who know me know how to reach me. You can go to my website, modernmedicinelady.com, and you can reach out and connect with me there. And also you can find me here. You can leave comments, etc., etc., etc. So I'll catch up with you guys later. Have a good night. Peace. Okay, I'm going to turn it off now.